If global debt keeps rising, who's holding the bill? What if I told you that every country on Earth, yes, every single one is drowning in debt, and yet somehow the world keeps running as if nothing is wrong? What if I told you the total global debt isn't just high, it's mathematically impossible to ever repay? And here's the real mystery. If every government, every corporation, and every household owes more than ever before, then who exactly is holding the bill? Because for every debtor, there must be a creditor. But when the debt is bigger than the global economy itself, more than $300 trillion, the math stops making sense, or does it? Today, we're going deeper than headlines and deeper than politics. We're uncovering the origins, the rise, the breaking points, the fallout, and the failed fixes behind the world's ballooning debt. And by the end of this video, you might discover that the real creditors aren't who you think. In fact, they might not even be people at all. The world we inherited before we uncover who holds the bill, we need to understand how the bill got this large. Let's rewind back to a world where debt wasn't infinite, where money was tied to something real, where governments couldn't create currency with a keystroke. This world disappeared in 1971, when the US closed the gold window, ending the Bretton Woods system and severing money from gold. From that moment forward, money became debt. Debt became money. And every dollar, euro, yen, or rupee was created by issuing debt. Governments borrowed. Corporations borrowed even more. Households borrowed more than both. And for decades, this system grew, quietly, almost invisibly. But here's the twist the world didn't see coming. Debt didn't grow because people were irresponsible. Debt grew because the system itself needed debt to survive. You're about to see why. The birth of an infinite debt system after 1971, central banks entered a new era. If economies slowed, governments could borrow. If people stopped spending, banks could lend. If recessions hit, central banks could lower interest rates. Debt became the engine of growth. Here's the cause and effect sequence. Interest rates fall gives borrowing becomes cheaper. Borrowing increases gives spending rises. Spending rises gives GDP grows. GDP grows gives governments look successful. Politicians loved it. Banks loved it. Corporations loved it. And the public, they didn't notice, because the boom felt good. But there was one problem. Each crisis required lower interest rates than the last. 1980s, high rates drop. 1990s, drop again. 2000s, lower. 2008, even lower. 2020, close to zero. Every time a crisis struck, the solution was more debt. The system had quietly transformed into something new. A machine that could function only if the world owed more next year than it did this year. How global debt exploded by the mid-2000s? Debt had become the world's default economic strategy. Governments borrowed to pay for everything from wars to healthcare. Corporations borrowed to buy back their own stocks. Consumers borrowed to keep up with rising costs. Debt became the oxygen of the global economy. But then, 2008 happened. The global financial system collapsed under the weight of its own leverage. And how did the world respond? With the single greatest creation of debt in human history, emergency loans, quantitative easing, zero interest rates, bailouts, stimulus packages. Instead of reducing debt, the world doubled down. Total global debt accelerated from $140 trillion in 2008 to over $300 trillion today. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The world avoided economic collapse by creating the conditions for a much bigger collapse later. When debt becomes too big to math. Today, global debt is 3x larger than the global economy. Corporations depend on rolling over old loans to survive. Households rely on credit to bridge shrinking wages. Here's the breaking point. Most new debt today isn't creating growth. It's being issued to pay the interest on old debt. That's the financial equivalent of paying your credit card with another credit card. Forever. The debt machine is running out of runway. But if debt can't be paid, then someone must absorb the loss. So who is it? We're close to the answer. Who really holds the bill? To find out who holds the bill, we must follow the money. Governments owe debt too. Domestic investors, foreign governments, pension funds, central banks, private banks, Corporations owe debt too. Bondholders, banks, investment funds, private equity firms, consumers owe debt too. Commercial banks, mortgage lenders, credit card companies, student loan servicers. In the modern era, debt doesn't have to be repaid. It only needs to be rolled over. The bill isn't held by one group, spread across the entire global financial architecture. This is why global debt can keep rising, till it can't. Modern parallels, patterns repeating today. Look around the world. The US has over $34 trillion in national debt. Japan's debt is 260% of GDP. Italy, France, and the UK face rising interest burdens. China's property developers owe more than entire nations. Corporations worldwide owe $90 trillion plus. Consumers hold record mortgages and credit card balances. These aren't isolated cases. They're symptoms of the same pattern. Debt grows until it becomes unpayable, and the system adapts by creating even more debt. But patterns don't continue forever. They break. And when this one breaks, it won't be gradual. 3 takeaways. Asterisk 1. The world doesn't have a debt problem. It has a system that requires ever-growing debt to survive. Asterisk 2. There is no single creditor. The creditor is the global financial system itself, a closed loop that recycles its own IOUs. Asterisk 3. The real risk isn't that debt becomes unpayable. The real risk is that people stop believing in the system that keeps rolling it over. Asterisk, and when belief collapses, systems collapse with it. Global debt has become the world's largest bubble, one so big that most people do and even recognize it as a bubble. The question is no longer, can the debt be repaid? The real question is, how long can the illusion hold? If you want more deep, serious, curiosity-driven videos about global finance, history, and hidden economic systems, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the next episode will reveal what happens after a global debt reset, and who rises in the power vacuum that follows. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.